Hello. I have another tea from Treasure Green today. Doesn't have any information on this tea. Just calls it a vintage 2011 Cheetah Bean Cha. So this was a budget tea. It was like $25 Canadian. So I like the cheaper teas because I don't like spending a lot of money, and I've never had a problem with buying bad tea yet. So maybe this will be one of those times. We'll have to find out. So I'm just gonna throw that wrapper aside here. It's got, I don't know if anybody can read that. That's the Ne Piao ticket on the inside of the wrapper. And here's the look of the dry leaf. Looks like a fairly strong compressed cake. But yeah, I'll just dig some out here and I'll let you know how it is. Now, I usually buy all my teas from Yunnan Sourcing, but I wanted to try something different. And Treasure Green's in Vancouver, and I live in British Columbia. So not only do I qualify for free shipping if I order from them, but it took 3 days to get here. So if you're in British Columbia and you want to try out some nice raw pu'ers, well, I don't know if they're nice yet, I haven't really tried them. But yeah, check out Treasure Green Tea Company, situated in Vancouver. I went to their shop. I met the owner, Olivia. She was really nice. She self-proclaims herself as a tea master, which is cool. I want to be a tea master someday. I'm just kidding. Usually that's a red flag for me when purchasing teas. But, yeah, let's go ahead and weigh out. See, we have enough for 9 grams here. There. Nine grams evenly. I'm not gonna. Here we go. Let's just quickly warm up the teaware. So that is a lot of leaf for this guy one, but I like to really evaluate a tea by putting lots in there. Got some good notes. Very sweet, very like syrupy. Like we'll just use that again. That. Just to give it the rinse. I don't like wasting my hot water. I hate having to get up and go get more hot water. My least favorite thing to do. And it's nice to give it a little bit of a colder rinse so you're not throwing away. No smell to that. Okay. See, actually, I found Treasure Green Tea Company last year when Canada Post was going through all of its issues. They were not allowing anything coming from China, and they were doing their strikes and everything. So I actually had an order from Yunnan Sourcing of about almost $300, and it was stuck in Chinese customs. They wouldn't let it go through, and then Chinese customs sent it back to Kunming. I looked at the tracking the one day, and it said arrived at destination, and I looked arrived at destination in Kunming, and I'm like, I live in Quesnel, BC. So I actually contacted the owner, Scott Wilson, and yeah, he looked into it, and he figured it was the Canada Post stuff. So it all got figured out. Really quick reply from Scott. I've always had good dealings with him, and I'm generally a loyal customer to him. But like I said, I wanted to try some new things and order some of their lower end cakes from Treasure Green to see how they fare up to some of the lower end cakes of Yunnan Sourcing. A little bit of bitterness. I guess it is a 2011 tea, so it's not very aged. Slight smokiness. I'm not going to call it a bitterness, but there is like an aggressive quality to this tea. I'm not sure if it's just like maybe a bad taste. I don't know how to describe it. Smell those. Definitely got a lot of notes of a young Shangpo. If I was going to give you some random flavor notes, I'd say that there's maybe some apple there, I don't know. You know, it's kind of flat. It might be in that weird stage of a tea's development where it's it's not quite aged and it's not quite new. It's just stuck somewhere in between and it just kind of goes flat. I've had a few teas like that. Try this second steep here. I brewed it a little softer this time. Maybe I brewed it too hard. I always like to go a little harder on a tea at first. Definitely got that smokiness to it. I wouldn't say it's a strong smokiness, but there's definitely some vegetal flavors there. Like a minerality of some sort, like sea salt or something. Maybe a little bit salty, a little bit brothy, a little bit vegetal. Yeah, that's the word. Steamed broccoli, like coming through maybe a little bit. Not a bad tea. Not something that I would. Yeah, I'm gonna cool this down a little bit. Use my smaller cup. It's funny when my dad comes over, I always serve him something like this, like in a Gaiwan or something, because he always whines about how small the tea is in. But even then, he's like, why don't you just give me a mug of tea? I'm trying to explain to him, this is a different way of making tea, Dad. So I'll give him a bigger cup. But then he's like, just pour more, pour more. So then I got like 4, 5, 6 infusions all in one. And for me, that kind of defeats the purpose of the whole Gong Fu. Because, you know, I like to experiment with my teas. So I'll change the... Pete! That's enough. Don't chew on the wires. Sorry, that's my puppy, Pete. Here, come here, Pete. Oh, this is my little Petey. No, what I was saying is I like to change the brewing parameters, so I'll use like a little bit more grams or a little less grams, depending on how it tasted last time. And I'll give it some time in between each time I try a tea. But, you know, I'll try less leaf, hotter water, colder water. And I'll change the steeping time. Which is why I don't like getting samples. Because if I get a 25 gram sample, usually my first, 2 infusions, it's all... I don't really get to know a tea until I'm halfway done a cake. Because I get to know that tea, on a personal level, I guess you'd say. Because, I've been drinking it every day over a period of like a month or something. And then I can decide when I'm half done if I like it or not. And a lot of the teas that I decide that I don't like when I first get them, by the time I'm halfway done, it's like maybe I've learned to like them, or I like them because I've tweaked my my brewing parameters to suit that tea, right? Getting something from this tea, I don't know what it is. I'm not good with brewing notes, but it's like maybe when you're like digging out in the backyard and you got like that blue clay and it's kind of wet mixed with horse piss. I'm just kidding. I always hear all these crazy notes from people like who's that Don from Mayleaf, who's like, pencil shavings and all this other stuff, fine leather, and I don't know, I never get anything like that from tea. But there's one note that I've got from like TDB. They always say that gasoline flavor, and yeah, I can understand what they mean by that. That's that aged aroma, and it almost tastes like petroleum. Yeah, definitely getting a lot more sweetness now. Like maybe apricots or something. Lots of astringency. I wouldn't say that there's much, maybe a little bit of a mouthfeel on here. Like a cooling mouthfeel. But, yeah, overall it's not bad. I could probably drink this tea on a daily basis. But for me, I don't know, most Shangpuras I can drink on a daily basis. And for me, those ones, I like them to be cheap. And for $25 Canadian, you can't go wrong. Unless there's like lead in it or something, which I don't think there is. It has the QS, which is, I believe, is a certification of some sort. That your pesticides or whatever are below a certain level. That's okay for the European Union. But then I have the European Union deciding how much pesticides I want. Which for me, I would personally not want any. I drink a lot of tea, and not as much as I used to. I like to have maybe 1 or 2 teas a day. And I'll sit down like this and, Peter, what are you chewing? He's getting into some crazy stuff over there. But you know what I was saying? Yeah, I'll get into maybe 1 or 2 teas a day. But before I had this 150, or no, sorry, a 300 milliliter Gawan. It was like this big on my tray. I could barely fit my hands around it. And I'd put like 16 to 25 grams of Shangpur. And with my kettle here, this is this cheap one I got from Canadian Tire. About a liter, 1.7 liters. But I would fill that up 3-4 times before I would be done that session. Drink it all to myself. And I'd have like 2 or 3 or 4 sessions like that in a day. And I was going through like 2-3 cakes in a month. But I got a 16 milliliter Gaiwan coming from Yunnan Sourcing. And that's what I'm going to start drinking when I'm alone. And, this one I got from Treasure Green. This is actually a really nice pot. It's supposed to be a real Yixing. I got that from Treasure Green Tea Company. And yeah, I don't know. It's got some markings on there in the bottom. I don't know if you can see. But yeah, it's 125 milliliters. I think it's a little bit smaller than my guy one. I think the guy one's 150. I actually picked this up in Chinatown for $4. I personally like cheap teaware. This was $75 I paid for this one at Treasure Green Tea Company. And for me, that's a lot of money to spend on a teapot. You know, I go shopping online looking for teaware, and I see these clay teapots for like over $1,000. Like, I don't care who made it or what era it's from. I ain't paying $2,000 for a goddamn teapot. I don't care what kind of magical qualities it has in the clay, and it's gonna make my tea taste better and better and better. And yeah, you know, for a while there, all I used was one of these in a mug, and I pour it right into my mug. And then I gong fu at school. I gong fu everywhere. Which will bring me to my next video when I get it. Is like I ordered the gong fu to go from Crimson Lotus, because I decided I want to try out some of their products and some of their pu'ers. And it really intrigued me that they're exclusively raw pu'er. Well, not raw, but they also have ripe pu'er. But they're exclusively a pu'er vendor. And you know, for me, all of the other teas are they're not teas that I would want to drink. You know, when I first started drinking tea, you know, I went through my phase, like, oh, I gotta have the Da Hong Pao and the Ti Guan Yin and all the, you know, the fancy oolongs and stuff. You know, like, I gotta try that Milan Xiang Dan Song. And these white teas and stuff, you know, watching Mayleaf, and they hype everything up. And I was like so stoked to try all the stuff. And it was good, but it was like, wasn't what I expected, right? Like, I watched their video about Jin Jin Mei, and I ordered some awesome Jin Jin Mei from Yunnan Sourcing. You know, these little tiny little golden buds. And it was a strong black tea, but I don't know. I thought it was going to be something different, but it was good. It was really good. Well, I guess you call it a Hong Cha or black tea, red tea, I don't know. All the same shit, I guess. So I'm getting into this tea a little bit. Definitely some drying qualities to it. I wouldn't say it's got a very strong chi. When I drink raw pu'er, I want to sweat. That's what I like when I like to sweat when I drink tea, and raw pu'er usually makes me sweat. And if it doesn't make me sweat, then I'll pretty much say it's not a very good tea. But also, that depends on the day. Maybe I hadn't eaten or whatever, you know, whatever reason. I didn't sleep very good last night. It doesn't affect me the same. But for me, tea is more about the feeling. A good flavor is good too, but that goes along with the feeling. And you know, I like to sit down and I'll drink tea for, you know, an hour or two. Drink the same tea and kind of just have that whole experience of that tea until it's done and there's nothing left, right? I usually go like maybe 10 to 20 steeps or something, but or I'll go maybe 5 to 10 stronger steeps. I'll do that too if I want a stronger brew. But starting to get more sweetness, but that, you know, that end of the tea minerality, that starts coming out right about now in this. That's starting to, anyways. You know, I don't really need to use a Gong Da Bei or a Cha Hai or whatever you want to call it, a pitcher, when, you know, I could pour one cup into the other cup. But I like the aspect of cooling down my tea. Sometimes I actually use two 2 pitchers and pour really high. And yeah, it cools it down for me. But especially when I'm trying to get through the tea, like I gotta be at work. My wife's picking me up in about an hour, I guess. Half an hour. So yeah, I can't be here all day drinking tea. I gotta start getting ready. I gotta put my scrubs on and all that. But yeah, anyways, this video is getting pretty long, I guess. It's a nice tea. It's 2011. I believe she said that this tea comes in tongs of 7 cakes per bamboo tong. So, you know, being the fact that it's a nice tea, and it would probably benefit from longer aging. So I might get 2 tongs of this tea, and that's what I like to do, is I'll get 2 tongs of a tea, and one's for my daily drinking, and the other one's maybe for long-term storage. But that daily drinking one, it'll last a little time, because I'll have lots of teas that are for my daily drinking. You know, I'll come back to the tea every maybe once a month or once every 2 months. And that's the plan anyways, because I'd like to build my collection a little bit more. You know, I worked at a Chinese food restaurant for a while, and you know, I wasn't getting very many hours. I was going to school. I was doing the Care Aid program at the college in town here, and maybe I was working once a week, so I didn't have very much money. I wasn't buying any tea, right? And I like to spend anywhere from like, I'd usually spend like 80 to 100 bucks a month. I'd buy like 2 or 3 cakes, and try and savor them, right? But I got into my studies, and I was drinking like a lot more tea than I usually would. You know, I'd sit down, open the books, and I would, my 300 milliliter gallon, and I'd just go hard on it. You know, I had a collection of about, you know, 17 cakes. And in just like maybe 3 months, they were all gone. I was like, what happened? My whole collection. And then I was down to like these 3 cakes that I didn't like. 2 of them are ripes. I don't like ripe tea, and I learned that earlier on. All my earlier teas that I bought, like all the oolongs and black teas and stuff like that, I ended up giving most of them away. And now, yeah, I just drink Shang Pu'er, and that's what I like. And there's so much complexity with just Shang Pu'er alone that I don't think I would never need anything else, right? Just from the different ages and the different regions, and I just want to learn a little bit more, right? So, really excited to continue this journey. And I'm going to share it on YouTube. That's the plan. So, yeah, I'm going to cut this video off right now. And thanks for watching if you did.